Hello everyone, my name is Hannah. Welcome to a new video. Today's video is going to be my January wrap up. So all of the books that I read in January. I read 16 books in January and I did this little experiment where I was trying to not rate books like throughout the month just because I've struggled so much with like giving ratings and like assigning a star, like a number to a book, like to wrap up my feelings on it. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try not giving it a rating at all. And so for the most part, unless it was like a reread, I didn't rate any books throughout the month. And I found that I do not like that. My brain really likes categories and it really likes to like, even as I was like finishing a book, I was like, yeah. And in my head, I was giving it a star rating and I was like, no, stop doing that. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy not giving it a star rating. Like if you notice in my vlogs or anything that I wasn't saying like, oh, I gave this so many stars, that is pretty much why. So I will be doing ratings in this wrap up just because like I've rated all of these in my head anyways. The star rating system for me is imperfect, but it is like the best that I've got. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little like disclaimer, I guess, if you saw like me rate all of these books on Goodreads all of a sudden, or if you're wondering why I wasn't rating them in my vlogs or anything, that is why. But yeah, I'm ready to get right into it. I've got my McDonald's Diet Coke. I got the large today because, I don't know, I was just feeling it. I used to not care about McDonald's Diet Coke. I know it's like a thing, like it's like a cult following, but Cammie, Rachel, and Lachlan all were like, you need to try McDonald's Diet Coke. And ever since I tried it, I was like, you are right. It is incredible. Anyways, that's not the point. Let's get into the books that I read in January. Okay, so the first book that I read in January, first book of 2023, was Daisy Hates the Great Undoing by Jessa Hastings. I have a full spoilery reading vlog for this book. I also have a reading vlog where I read this book and I don't do any spoilers. So depending on if you've read it or not, you can see my like thoughts on it. But I annotated in this. If you know, the Magnolia Parks universe was like some of my favorite books of last year. Magnolia Parks was my favorite book of last year. And I'm absolutely obsessed with Jessa's writing. I love these characters and I love this book so much. It was so good. It was everything that I wanted from it. And yeah, I annotated in it and just had the best time reading this. I love Daisy, I love Christian, I love Julian. Those are the main points of view that we get in this book. I'm not gonna give you like a synopsis of what this is because it's the fourth book in the series, the second Daisy Hates book, so I don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but this book does follow the same timeline as The Long Way Home. So if you've read The Long Way Home and you haven't read this yet, pick it up. It's so good. But yeah, I adore Jessa's writing and I started off the year with a bang because it was absolutely 5 stars for me. So the next book that I picked up was a reread, and if you saw my vlog for this, I talk about it a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to show you the book. It's Normal People by Sally Rooney. I read this a couple years ago and I did not like it. I think I even like ranted about it in a video. I gave it 2 stars the first time I read it. I really was very frustrated by this. And yeah, I didn't like it. And now I'm like, I hate that I ever said a bad thing about this book or these characters or the story. It makes me want to peel my skin off. But I watched the show, okay? So I read this book, I think in 2021, and I was like, I'm not watching the show. I can't do it. Rachel from Raven-Haired Reader was like, just watch the show on Hulu. The show is so good. Just watch the show. And I was like, all right, I'll give the show a shot. And I loved the show. I think it's like one of my favorite shows of all time. It's so emotional and it hit me so deeply and I loved it so much. I was a wreck after finishing it. So then I decided, you know what? I need to give the book a second chance now that I like have seen it play out on screen. Because like one of my main critiques of this book was that I didn't feel connected to the characters. And after watching it, I'm like, oh, that's how that scene was supposed to go. That's the emotions that they were doing. Like it was so much easier for me to connect to the characters and to like visualize it the second time I read it. And I absolutely loved this the second time I read it. I even went through and annotated in it. It's so good. It's so beautiful. It's so emotional. And like Oh my god, I just love it so much. So anyways, this went from a 2-star read to a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved this, and I hate that I ever said a bad thing about it. I will say though, I don't think I would have enjoyed the book as much if I didn't watch the show. Like if I were to just reread this and haven't watched the show, I don't think I would have liked it as much. But yeah, the show just really helped me to connect more to the characters. So if you haven't watched the show yet, please go watch the show. Moving on. Next book that I read in January was Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This was a 5-star prediction for me, and I did really enjoy it. I mean, I do find myself thinking about this book a lot, and like some of the conversations that are had in this book a lot. I really, really liked the writing in this. This is another, like, I picked this up specifically after reading Normal People because it gives kind of some of the same vibes. It's two people who are, again, very flawed. I'll just say this back part, like, is better. I'm so bad at synopses. It just says it's a contemporary love story like no other, exploring the nature of love, what it means to be unwell, and how to face the fractures of ourselves and still love as if we're not broken. So it follows Aldo and Regan, and they meet in this like strange circumstance. They really hit it off, and they have this relationship, and it's both of them trying to like work through their mental illnesses while still being in love and wanting to love this other person with all that they have. So I did really enjoy this one. Loved the writing. I will for sure be picking up Olivia Blake's like other standalone books. I think I'm gonna settle on a 4-star rating for this one. I don't think it's quite a 5-star though, so I'm gonna stick with a 4-star rating. But yeah, I did really enjoy this, but the writing was my favorite part. The next book that I read in January was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. So I was, kicking off the year with a lot of emotional reads. So this is a memoir for Jeanette McCurdy, who, if you don't know, she was one of the stars in the Nickelodeon TV show iCarly. So she played Sam, and it was kind of like an iconic role for her. The show obviously is very popular, and so people know Jeanette McCurdy as Sam. But yeah, basically it's just Jeanette talking about her life from very early on and like becoming a child actor, and then her relationship with her mother, which was very strained and very complicated. And I thought this was a really well done memoir. I really liked how it was written and how it was told, and it was definitely interesting to see into Jeanette McCurdy's life and like all that she was going through and all that she's still going through because of everything that happened. But yeah, I did really enjoy this one. I'm not going to rate it because it's a memoir. I don't usually rate memoirs at all because I just feel like that's weird to rate someone's life. I don't know. I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to give this one a rating, but I did really enjoy it. So yeah, no rating for that one, but did really like it. Then I picked up Stolen Heir by Sophie Lark. This is the second book in the Brutal Birthright series. So the first book is Brutal Prince. So this is a mafia romance. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling as well. So it's like rival mafia people. The daughter of one of like the mafia guys gets kidnapped, or daughter and sister to these mafia families. She is not like involved in the mafia, but she is a ballerina, and she gets kidnapped and is forced to like stay as like basically as punishment for like her family's deeds and stuff. And she ends up falling for the guy who kidnaps her, Mikolaj. Do they call him Miko? Yeah, Miko. I was like, did I just make that up in my head? But yeah, it's very much a Beauty and the Beast retelling with a mafia spin on it. I liked this one. I think I liked it a little bit more than I liked Brutal Prince, but it was just kind of, it was fine. It was a decent romance, decent mafia. I don't have a whole ton to say about this one. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I liked it at the time. Will I ever reread it? Probably not. No, not even probably. I won't, but it was fun at the time. Then I picked up my reread of House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. So I'm doing my read along with my friend Christina that I talk about in every single wrap up and every single TBR. But we are almost done. This is the last series, and there's only 2 books, and we are winding it down. But my reread of House of Earth and Blood was wonderful. I got to go through and re-tab everything so that the tabs actually match a lot better than the neon ones. But I feel like sometimes I forget how much I love this book. Like, not that I forget how much I love it, but just like I feel like I talk all the time about the ACOTAR series and the Throne of Glass series, but this one is like, it's just as good as them, and I love it so much. I love the characters, and I had the best time rereading this, and I don't know, I love it so much. This was obviously 5 stars. Next up, I read The Roommate by Rosie Danan. It is a romance about these 2 people. So I can't even remember her name. Is it Claire? Clara, who moves across the country to spend time with this guy that she's always had a crush on, and he ends up like leaving her to go be in his band or whatever. And so he finds somebody to like sublet the place with her, and she's never met this guy before, and that is Josh. And Clara is like from a very like well-to-do family, and she's very like rich and prim and proper, and Josh is an adult entertainer. And when she finds that out, that's where the story really takes off, and then a romance ensues. And it was very sex positive, which I really appreciated, and I thought that this was just like so fun, and I really liked it. I'm gonna give this one 4 stars. I did pick up the spin-off sequel to this, which is following a character we meet in this book called Naomi, and I'm really excited to hear her story as well. But I love this one. I thought it was really cute. It's very spicy. So yeah, 4 stars. Then I picked up one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is Lost in the Moment and Found by Shauna Maguire. So this is the 8th installment in the Wayward Children series. So if you don't know, the Wayward Children series is a portal fantasy series, and it follows, they're very short. They're all like less than 200 pages, and they follow these children who go to these magical worlds. The first book specifically is set in our world at a school for these children who have gone to a magical world and then now find themselves back in this world, and they're trying to cope with that. But every even numbered book is a child in that world exploring that world. And since this is an even numbered book, the 8th one, it is set in a different world, and we are exploring this world where the lost things go. I can't remember what it's called. The shop where lost things go. And then all of the odd number books, so the first one specifically because it started the stories, but then after that, all of the odd number books kind of follow like us set in this world and like what's going on here with these children, if that makes sense. I would still recommend reading all of them in order because it's just like the best way. I don't know, some people say you can read them out of order, but like I don't recommend that at all. But anyways, this book, again, like I said, it follows this world where lost things go, and this really, really went a lot deeper than I was expecting, and it really like almost made me want to cry. I think I did tear up during this. It talks a lot about childhood and innocence, and like how once you lose that childhood innocence, it can really never be found again. Like you can't get that back. And how heartbreaking that is, honestly. And like losing time and stuff, like, oh my God, it was so well done. Like all of the metaphors in here, I was just like, Shauna Maguire, honestly, you're brilliant. So I gave this one, I actually don't know what I rated this one. I feel like 5 stars, maybe like a 4.5. We're gonna settle on that 4.5. 5. It was really good. Some Coke. Next book that I read was a reread, and that was Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. This is the first book in the Bargainer series. I'm reading this for my friend Sahar's book club, the Fanro book club. I'm actually co-hosting with a bunch of our other friends. So this is all a reread for me. I absolutely loved this book. It's a fantasy romance where it's set kind of in our world, like in modern times, but there is magical creatures, and then there is also like a fae realm. And the main character, Callie, is a siren, and something happens when she's about 16 years old, and she really needs someone's help. So she calls on the Bargainer to come help her out of this situation, and she wants to make a deal with him. And so if you make a deal with the Bargainer, he'll grant you this favor, but then you're in debt to him and you owe him a favor. And Callie has racked up quite a lot of debt with the Bargainer. She's got like over 300 favors that she owes him. And he comes back into her life several years after they meet and is ready to call in on these favors. There's something going on in the Fae world that he needs her help with, and her siren abilities like will be very helpful. And so he needs her help with this. And that's basically what the story is about. It does have like a dual timeline. So you're seeing what happened when Callie and the Bargainer meet and like what happened when she was younger and what's going on. And then you're following the present timeline where she is a bit older and now the bargainer is coming back to call in on these debts. And I just absolutely love this book so much. I love Callie and I love the bargainer, and oh my god, I just loved it so much. I had so much fun reading it. I was smiling, I was squealing, had the best time. 5 stars. The next book I read in January was Daughter of No World by Carissa Broadbent. So this is the first book in the War of Lost Hearts series. I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent last year, and it was one of my favorite books of the year. Absolutely loved it, loved her writing, and so I wanted to pick this series up. I was recommended this series by Rachel from Raven Haired Reader. So this book follows Tisana mainly, and Tisana is a former slave. She has recently managed to escape slavery, and she's been trying for years to get to this school for magic, which is called the Orders, and she wants to help kind of free the slaves in her kingdom. And she has this magic ability which she wants to explore more, and so she goes and finally finds the Orders, and they hook her up with this guy that she's going to apprentice for, Max, who really does not like the Orders and does not want to work for them and does not want Tisana as an apprentice. And so they have this kind of rocky start because he doesn't want anything to do with them and she desperately wants to learn from him, and they kind of pair up so that he does begrudgingly teach her more about her magic. So yeah, this was a solid start to a fantasy series. I'm definitely excited to pick up the next books. I am really excited with where the story is headed and like where the romance between these two characters is headed. Not super romance heavy in this first book. I have heard that there is more romance in the next books, but I really enjoyed it. The second half like really took off. The first half was a lot of setup and a little bit slow, but the second half really took off and I did really enjoy this one. I think I'm going to give it a like 3.5, 3.75. Probably 3.75 if I do quarter ratings, because it's like, it's not quite a 4, but I feel like 3.5 is too harsh. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I did enjoy it, but I just had a couple like minor critiques of it. So that's where I'll go, 3.75. After that, I spent the weekend reading the entire Briar U series by Elle Kennedy. So this is the spin-off sequel series to the Off Campus series, which I read several years ago. It's a hockey romance series. So the first book is The Chase, which follows Summer and Fitzy. And it's very like Legally Blonde kind of feeling. Like Summer is like this like ditzy party girl, but she's like tired of being like made to feel that way just because she's blonde and she likes like shopping and pretty clothes and stuff like that. She's like, that doesn't mean that I'm stupid. She does have a learning disability though, and so people tend to just like chalk her up for being stupid even though she's not. She actually has like a legit learning disability. And then Fitzy is on the hockey team and like he's like friends with her brother, and so it's like a little bit of like a brother's teammate. I did like this one. It was really fast. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars though. Like it was fine, it was a fun time. But the next book, The Risk, was better and I really enjoyed this one. It is the coach's daughter and the rival team's star hockey player romance, and so I love that. So it's like a bit of a forbidden romance, and it was really good. I really enjoyed that one. I liked that trope of like the forbiddenness of like she's the coach's daughter for this team, but like the star player on their rival team that they all like hate, and they're like, why is he so good? And oh my god, they were so cute. And I love the guy. Is his name Colin? I can't remember his name, but I really liked him as like a love interest. It was really cute. I like that one. I gave it 4 stars. The third book, The Play, is probably my least favorite in the series. Again, I can't remember all of the names. Oh, Hunter and Demi. So Hunter is best friends with Fitzy from The Chase, and Demi is like a classmate that he has to work on this project with, and she has a boyfriend at the start of the book, and basically it's like friends to lovers, except like I was so annoyed that she had a boyfriend that she was like so in love with for like over half the book, honestly. And it's like, I don't know, I just don't find that like enjoyable. Like I want to root for them to be together, and like if she's got a boyfriend who sucks at the beginning of the book and then she breaks up with him and it's them like, you know, oh, I just broke up with my boyfriend of 8 years or whatever, but like I don't know. I just didn't like this one as much, and I didn't really care about Demi. I gave this one 2 stars. Like, I didn't really enjoy it. And then the last one, The Dare, I think it was between this one and The Risk that were my favorite in the series. I really enjoyed The Dare. So this follows, can't remember their names. It follows this like kind of like laid back surfer style guy who again plays on the hockey team, and then he's like kind of a player too. Like, he always gets with these girls and everybody kind of knows that he has this reputation. He's a nice guy. He's not like mean or anything. He just gets around. And then the girl is kind of like a plus size sorority girl who her sorority sister like is really picking on her and kind of dares her to go try to hook up with him, knowing, like thinking that he's going to shut her down because she's plus size. And the guy ends up being like totally in on it. And he was like, oh yeah, let's give him a show. So he like helps her out in this situation. And then he's like, you know what if we just like fake date? Because I'm tired of like my teammates always ragging on me, and like I just kind of want to break from people like constantly thinking that I'm like wanting to hook up or whatever. So then there's fake dating in it, and it was just really cute. The main character, again, I can't remember her name. Taylor? I think it's Taylor. She has a lot of like body dysmorphia and like negative self-talk. And so there's like a little bit of fat phobia in this as well, because she like talks down to herself and other people. Like, her sorority sister, who's really mean, talks about like her weight all the time and like how curvy she is. Oh, I just really, really loved this one. It was so cute, and I just really liked the main guy, and I can't even remember his name, but I really liked him. I gave this one 4 stars. Then I was just really feeling like doing another reread, and I reread Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I've read it several times. I've annotated in it, and I just absolutely love this one so much. I just love it. I literally just love it. It's one of those where like when I finish it, I want to immediately start it over and reread it. So if you don't know, this was like really popular on TikTok a couple years ago, and so it was like really blowing up. But if you don't know, it follows Misha and Ryan, who their trope is childhood friends to enemies to lovers, which I love. So they get paired up. They go to different schools and they get paired up to be pen pals. And so they have this like really wholesome pen pal relationship and friendship, where they just like become each other's best friends. And one day they end up kind of at the same party, and Misha figures out who Ryan is, but Ryan has no idea who he is. And it turns out that Ryan is nothing like she is in her letters. She is kind of a mean girl, and she's like completely the opposite of how she is in her letters. And Misha is really frustrated by that, really upset by that. And he ends up going to the same school as Ryan for the last few months of their senior year. And again, he knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is. And he changes his name because he's got like an ulterior motive for being at this school. Like, it's not just to mess with Ryan. He has something else going on, which is like a little bit of a mystery throughout this. But then he starts to kind of like mess with her a little bit, and they have this like hate to love relationship. It's so good. And I just love it. I just love it. And I really, really love Ryan. I feel like people are like, oh, she's so unlikable. And I'm like, I love her. I love her. And I get that she is unlikable, but like, I love her. And I just love this book. I just love the story so much. I can't. I love it. 5 stars. Love it, love it, love it. And then finally, my last book that I read in January was Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. So this was recommended by Jody from Vanilla Moon. This was her favorite book of last year. It is a fantasy romance. It's the first book in a fantasy romance series, and it involves a runaway princess who was a prisoner. It's got dragons. It's got begrudging allies to lovers trope. It was such a fun time. So it follows Elwyn, who is a princess in this kingdom. And when she was born, somebody brought her 5 dragon eggs, and they are bonded to her. And this bond is like super rare. You can't break it. Her father, the king, is very threatened by that and thinks that because of this dragon bond, she's going to someday overthrow him and kill him. And so he locks her up as a prisoner. So she's raised as a prisoner her whole life until she manages to escape with like her uncle or something. And so they run away, and then she kind of like forms her own kingdom and becomes a queen of this other kingdom. And one day she has a run-in with a commander from another kingdom, and he wants to find Elwyn, basically, to ally with his kingdom so the other kingdoms around them will all band together against her tyrant father. And his little deal is that he'll help her steal back her 5 dragons. And so they kind of like get off on the wrong foot. They're very much begrudging allies. Like they're working together because they have to, not because they want to. But very quickly they become friends and they have this like cute little like bickering and banter. So it's like begrudging allies to friends to lovers. It's very cute and I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely excited to see where the story goes from here. I do think this could have been maybe condensed a little bit. I don't think it needed to be this long, but I still really enjoyed all of it. Like, I don't know specifically what I would have like cut out to make it shorter, but I really liked it and I'm really excited to see where the story is going to go and where the relationship is going to go. I'm ready for more dragons. Cannot wait for the sequel. I gave this one 4 stars. So yeah, it was a great reading month. It was a great way to kick off 2023 because I read a ton of great books and I'm really, really happy about it. Let me see if I can hold these up. All right, so here are all of the books that I read in January, minus the 4 Briar U books that I read on my Kindle. But yeah, I'm really happy with all of the books that I read in January, and I'm happy that I did that experiment of not rating books so that I know I actually do like rating books and need to rate books because my brain just wants to put things in a box. So let me know down in the comments down below what books you read in January. What was your favorite book that you read in January? If I'm not counting rereads, my favorite book, oh, obviously Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. I was like, what is it? Obviously it was that one, if I'm not counting rereads. But yeah, I had so many great books this month. So let me know what your favorite of the month was and if you've read any of these books. Also, if you're wanting to see me read any of these books or see like my in-depth thoughts on them, I will leave all of my vlogs from this month linked down below, as well as anybody that I mentioned in this video. Yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, you can let me know by liking and subscribing down below. It really helps support my channel and I would really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!